I don't know if I should disclose this. We were close to about 2 million ARR. Our pitch was that did you know there are about 20,000 people that we have identified in the last 24 hours in USA that are looking to buy a new car. Our first foray of this was into consumer facing brands. So we would work with all the top Fortune 100 companies, whether it's a Ford, GE, MasterCard, LG, Chrysler, you name it. We would work with all of them.
Hello, everyone. Another day, another episode. Today with me, I have Tapajyoti Tukan, who is currently building his yet to be named startup. I'm not sure what the name of the startup is as of today, but let us call it Hey Gia. And he has previously built LeadSift, which was into data intent, and sold it to IDG and managed for a couple of years, worked in Foundry. Welcome, Tukan. How are you doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me, Dheeraj.
Wonderful. So first of all, the whole credit must go to Santosh, right? I was so keen on having somebody in this industry to the insights on the intent was a particular topic in my mind. When I spoke to Santosh on this, he gave me your name that you are the right person that I should have you here.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah. Santosh is a legend in the go-to-market B2B go-to-market data space. So I'm honored that he referred me. Yeah, happy to be here.
It should start from the point where it all started for you, your journey of growth. If you don't mind starting from your college, where you did your college, and how did you get to the point where you got that insight of building LeadSift and up till today? Would love to know about your journey.
Sure. I'll give my journey until LeadSift and where I'm today, but I have to clarify one thing. So yes, the startup that I'm building on LinkedIn, it still says stealth. By the time this will broadcast, I don't know when that'll be, will probably be live. The name of the company is called Gia, and the website is going to be getgia.ai. We'll talk about that at some other time. My journey, I'm originally from India, moved to Canada right after high school to study computer science. So I did my computer science here in Halifax, Nova Scotia, eastern part of Canada. I did 4 years of study, and then I got a job at a search engine company. It was called Genie Knows. We were competing with Google, Yahoo, Microsoft, and Ask Jeeves at that point. This is 2005, 2006. There I joined as a research engineer. That's where I got the whole bug of data mining and text mining. Because when you're working at a search engine, you're doing a lot of text mining, information retrieval, a lot of machine learning. My supervisor was Hyun Chun Lee. He basically taught me a lot of that. So I got enamored with this whole concept of mining data, from mining insights from massive amounts of unstructured data, and then picking up signals. So that's where I got excited. I published a lot of papers and worked there. Then I started my master's degree in natural language processing, which was around identifying sentiments from short text. While doing that, that's where I got the idea with a couple of my friends and co-founders and to saying, hey, there's a lot of interest. There's a lot of interesting insights available in this massive amounts of public unstructured data that's available out there. And we can specifically extract those insights to predict buying behavior. Keep in mind, I'm talking, this is around 2011, 2012 time. This is when Twitter, Instagram wasn't there, blogs were there, and Facebook had opened up their API to feed data, and there's a news site, RSS feeds. So we started ingesting, being data nerds and who love data. We started processing those data feeds via API to pick up automatically buying signals. There was no concept of intent data. We didn't know if it was going to selling to B2B companies and all that. But that's how we got started in 2012 with the whole premise of we can mine unstructured data to pick up buying signals. That's what we call them. Our first foray of this was into consumer facing brands. So we would work with all the top Fortune 100 companies, whether it's a Ford, GE, MasterCard, LG, Chrysler, you name it. We would work with all of them, helping them identify which consumers were in market for their given product. So for example, our pitch was that did you know there are about 20,000 people that we have identified in the last 24 hours in USA that are looking to buy a new car. And oh, by the way, I know 10% of them are young parents that have a dog, a kid, and they love watching Orange is the New Black, and their favorite uh, uh, coffee shop is Dunkin' Donuts, for example. So you'd get that kind of insight, and we'd give that pitch to these consumer-facing brands to help them target these in-market buyers, in this case, car buyers or phone buyers or insurance buyers, you name it. We did that for 3.5 years. We raised venture capital money. Salesforce was an investor, and a bunch of other Omer's Ventures and a bunch of other tier one investors invested in us. But in 2016, we realized that business we were selling into these big brands. Two problems we faced. A, that data that we were selling was a very ad hoc type revenue, meaning Jaguar came to us. I remember before their XF launch in Super Bowl, they're like, hey, we want to know who's in market for buying Jaguar or a car like that. What do they look like? So we'd give them that data and insight. But the problem that we faced was they would take the data, they would use it for their ad campaign launch, and then go away. So there was no predictable revenue. There was no annual subscription. So we were becoming sort of like an agency. We're giving data, and we didn't want to. We wanted to build a SaaS recurring subscription business. So in 2016, we came to this crossroad where we basically had either we shut down our company, give whatever money left, we had a year's worth of money left to the investors, or we had a couple acqui-hire type offers, so we could have sold the company for pennies on the dollar, or we figured it out. We decided for option 3, and that's where we started from scratch, where we like, okay, we have this core technology that can understand unstructured data to predict buying behavior. What if we did that for B2B software companies? And this funny story, this whole thing came from one of our internal SDRs. We had one SDR guy as an intern, and one of the things he used to do is he used to use, back then Zoom Info was not popular. I believe it was Rain King or something he used to look at, and on LinkedIn he used to reach out to people. And he basically came to us and said, hey, you know what would be super cool is if we could use our technology to tell me, instead of who's looking to buy a car, who's looking to buy a B2B lead gen software or a sales intelligence software. I'm like, how could you do that? But anyways, that's when we doubled down. We started doing customer discovery again. And that's what the start of LeadSift, well, it was always called LeadSift. That's when we did into the B2B intent data, where we basically built a technology that would mine massive amounts of unstructured data to identify which companies were in market at a given time for a specific software service.
You
And
already
that was
had
2016. Yeah. Go
you
ahead.
already had Salesforce as an investor, right? There wasn't any demand from their side that they could use something like this.
So Salesforce, interestingly enough, Salesforce, we were a partner in their Salesforce marketing cloud, social cloud ecosystem. So we were plugged in there. Anybody that was using Salesforce marketing cloud, not the CRM,
Okay.
Social Studio, that's what they called their product. Someone was using, they could choose us as a vendor to ingest all the data that their customers were processing and add LeadSift on front to predict who are the car buyers. So for example, a Salesforce customer could have been Mazda. Mazda was basically listening on everything people are talking about Mazda and cars, but then Mazda go, oh, let me add LeadSift to see who are actually looking for a Mazda, and they would use us. So yeah, we had a strategic partnership there. But when we pivoted into the CRM side of things, there was no partnership there because our investment and everything was from the marketing cloud side of things. Salesforce sort of at that point operated as separate unit: marketing cloud, sales cloud, service cloud. But yeah, so that was
Wonderful. And what was the revenue that you were doing at that time?
when we did a pivot.
Yes.
We were at about $400,000 in annual revenue. That was our revenue, and or close, yeah, $400,000 in end of 2015. So when we did the pivot in 2016, like a hard pivot, we actually let go of all our customers by 20. We had to, because we were not focusing on that. We were just doing something different. We made it to zero by August, I think, of 2016, and then started building it up back up again.
Okay. And then what was the journey like from your pivot to the point it got acquired?
Yeah, so that interesting journey. So I look at my journey with LeadSift as just two separate companies. One was the first half where we raised money, we were working with these big flashy clients, but we made every single mistake on the book that's possible. Like everything. The second time one of the biggest things that we did was difference. The first time was being technical people, our core idea, because we were all the co-founders were like deep tech background. And our general conception is if you build it, they will come. So we built a ton of tech, hoping, obviously, we are building this cool, amazing technology, people will come. That didn't happen. So when we did the pivot, we said, we are not going to write a single line of code unless we validate this. We became super data driven. So we basically actually built a math formula internally saying we will talk to X number of people, just do customer discovery. 75% of them has to say yes, what we are solving is a top 3 pain point. Out of that, 75% has to agree, saying that this is a top 3 pain point. From that group, 80% of them need to agree to be seeing a demo when we have a demo. Then of the people, and the demo was literally a wireframe, like mock-ups. We didn't build anything. Out of those 80% people who did a demo, I believe 50% had to have said, yes, I will sign up as an early customer if you build it. So we went through the process and we basically did everything manually. Even when we onboarded for the first 30 customers we onboarded, we were actually, for the first 10 customers, it was all manual. We head faked it to the customer. We basically said, hey, we are going to give you leads based on these signals every day. 10 leads there's no dashboard for you to log in. There's an Excel you'll get at 5 p.m. Eastern. We had 6 teammates then.
Okay.
Manually do this, look through Reddit, Stack Overflow, Twitter, LinkedIn, all of this. Pick up these signals, format an Excel. Sometimes the formatting was wrong. It was run manually and we sent it to them. Then after the first 10 customers, from 10 to 30, we started then saying, okay, these 10 are finding value. That means there's something. Let's automate part of it. For between 10 to 30, we automated about 50% of it. The work was 50% still manual. Then we got, even the 30 customers were finding value. They're asking for more. They need more volume. They're asking for features and stuff like that. And like, okay, now we are really starting to get signs of product market fit. That's when we automated the rest of it. So in 2016 March was the first time we onboarded a customer. By 2016 December, we had automated 90% of it. So that was the core difference. And then we kept scaling up. We worked with a lot of the unicorns that are public now. Some of the Rubrik was a customer, Nutanix, Showpad, Seismic, VMware, IBM, Blue Wolf. Like, we work with all the big companies. We actually also work with Salesforce through another partner, Intensify, Metadata, like anyone that actually Santosh Apollo.io was one of our big customers. They probably still have LeadSift feed in there, or Foundry feed now in their system. So we work with all of them. But another interesting thing happened. Another inflection point happened was a negative inflection. There was a negative and a positive. One inflection point happened was in 2018 when GDPR was launched. When GDPR was launched, there was a big shift in our value prop, meaning a lot of marketers became very scared, saying, hey, I don't want to be using this data to be reaching out to people because I don't have consent. So we had to change some language, change our positioning, change the integration and all that. So that's one thing that happened. That was a negative inflection. So our revenue dropped, I think 30% overnight in 2018 August. I think that's when it was officially launched, introduced. And then another inflection that happened was in 2020 March, when COVID hit, our revenue dropped because they were like, we don't know what will happen. Our revenue is dropping, blah, blah, blah. But then we had customers that were doing virtual stuff. They really picked up telehealth, some video conferencing and all that. And then by 2020, September, October, one thing that happened was everything became digital. Everything was remote. They were not events. So that budget started coming and people's market started bouncing back. So COVID ended up becoming a good big boost for us until 2021 when we exited the company to IAG.
And what was the revenue at that time?
I don't know if I should disclose this. we were close to about 2 million ARR, annual recurring revenue.
Wow. Setting up the whole path for the newer generation tools to come and, work on it. You have built that legacy. Nice. And
I don't know if we have that legacy, but funny thing is that I've spoken to at least four people, four CEOs of companies since I've sold the business. They're doing now intent data and signal based selling. And to my surprise, they reached out on LinkedIn. They're like, thank you for doing this about intent, because I actually think we were talking about these signals, not actually. We were talking about these signal based selling, trigger based intent, not just this one type of intent. I know we'll talk about this later early on. So yeah, we were a little ahead of the game.
wow. Okay. And then post that, that was IDG Foundry, right?
Yes. So that was 2021. I was there with Foundry for 2 years and 10 months, where I was overseeing their product. I was a VP of product for the data and software group. Then I became a VP of product marketing for the last year and bit for the data and software side of the business. Was great in the sense, there's pros and cons working at a big company. I've never worked at a big company. The biggest company that I worked before IDG was 42 employees. I think IDG had 6,000, maybe more, globally, 56 countries and all that. They would book like one thing. It's a learning. IDG's, like Foundry's weekly revenue target in America, new bookings, is more than 80% of the Series A companies' annual bookings globally.
Wow.
So when you're at that scale, you realize like you need to build a sales machine, a revenue machine. So I learned a lot about that. We only sold to large enterprises, and I was fortunate enough to be in the boardroom with all the big companies, name it Dell, Microsoft, OpenText, IBM, all of this. So I learned how enterprise sales works. So yeah, so that was a great journey. And then the plan was always to start another business. And that's what I started in November 2024, a company called Gia. What still super early, as you can see, November. So this is month 4 or 5 of being full time on this. We are basically building an AI platform specifically for modern agencies and professional service firms, meaning people that are doing knowledge-based services that are delivering. We are basically building an AI growth platform or growth partner for them. Our core insight is, as an agency owner or an owner of a boutique professional firm, you, the founder, are the person who's responsible for primarily doing business development. You don't have a lot of resources doing biz dev, marketing, and all of this. And one of the challenges we face is, we have learned is, you're so focused on doing client deliverable work, you don't have time to grow your own business. We are building a set of tools or AI agents. There are some agents, not all of them are, to help them scale their business while they focus on doing client deliverable work. The system helps them grow their business. So that's what I'm building, but specifically for that market.
Talking about Gia, my demo is yet to happen.
And you absolutely are going to get a demo. We are, yes, we have made some big progress, like big production pushes in the last little bit. So yeah, you need to get a demo and you'll find value out of it. Absolutely.
So I was actually waiting that. I was happy. I told my co-founder that we'll be getting this platform, but then I realized there must be some big changes going on. That's why it didn't happen.
No, you're definitely, I'm going to schedule thank you for putting me on the spot. I am going to, and making me accountable. I am going to schedule a demo with you and show you what you have built and give you guys access.
Next time when you watch this, when this is live, before that, if demo doesn't happen, everybody's going to get to know.
Right. And if it does happen, make sure you go post. It's like, hey, whatever you said, the demo did happen. We are happy customers of Gia. We're using it.
It's a done deal. Okay, cool.
Amazing.
So by the time you started, paved the way for what intent, high quality intent or whatever intent based marketing is today, right? What is something that has changed, right? What is that folks are doing wrong? Which is on a right track? So what changes? What is wrong? What is right?
I'd like to give credit where it's due. For B2B intent, I don't think we paved the way. The company that really paved the way is Bombora. They're the leaders. They still are probably in the B2B intent data as a service space. They are the ones, and we competed with them, but they were doing it in a different way than we were. So the big change that has happened since then to now Now, actually, yeah, I'll take a step back and first describe what I think B2B intent data is and how we
Right.
were looking at it, what's happening.
Right.
B2B intent data it's a little bit of a black box, and there's a lot of bad actors. Everyone uses the term intent data, like they just throw it out like candy. But the truth is, B2B intent data is it's a probabilistic measure, meaning what is the probability of a company being in market for your product at any given time. That's literally what intent data is supposed to do. So if it says 80, it's a probability that this company has 80% likely to be in market for your product or service. Like that's the whole concept of it. Now, to come up with that intent, there is the one of the core realities, and I always used to say there is, and I still believe it, there is no one single source of truth. There is no one says, hey, this is the source that will tell you all the intent signals, unless you're Google, which never will sell their intent data. So in that case, if you don't have a single source, because the buyer's journey is so complex, there's so many things happening, what you need to do is you need to look for a bunch of different activities that are happening within an account, within different people's of an account, that give you an indication that there might be something going on, right? The truth is, a lot of these signals that happen, Dheeraj, are happening on channels that are not publicly available, that are happening on private channels. That's the truth. That's the stark reality. Meaning, if you are having a call with a vendor, like you and I, we had a call 2 weeks back, and you like, I'd love to try out Gia. That's a private thing. That's a signal of intent, if you think about it, right?
Right.
That information is not out public. So when you look at intent, it is basically third-party intent. That's what we did. We looked at external sources. One of the things that when we started was basically Bombora is the company that started this model, and 6sense and all of the demand base, and they all follow this. Their form of intent is basically someone has been reading a piece of article or a content for a certain period of time about a topic, hence you are in market. Classic example, I read an article about how Databricks helps with data storage or something, and you have me, you don't know who I am, but you know my IP address. From my IP address, you know I work at Dell. So then basically the intent is Dell is in market for a cloud storage solution, or Databricks is in market for Databricks. Dell is in market for Databricks.
Okay.
And the more times they look at the same IP, reading the same similar articles of the same topic, the intent score goes up, which is valid. If you're reading an article, or if your company is non-stop, bunch of people are reading bunch of different articles about different same topic, and consistently, and you were not reading before, and all of a sudden you started, there is something going on, right? And that was the only defined way of intent. We came to the picture and we said, that is our way of defining intent. That's not the only way. We said, well, you should look at other different signals. We used to call them triggers. People are now calling it signals. So we said basically, okay, what if someone just started hiring or was looking to hire for a role that says cloud storage? Isn't that an indication that they might need a software?
Right.
Or what if they just hired a new CTO? There's a chance he or she might change up the structure. What if we saw one of the employees of Dell adding a comment on LinkedIn post or a tweet from a competitor of Databricks like Snowflake? Doesn't it mean that there is something going on? Why are they getting close? If we see this company raise funding, isn't that a signal that something is going on? So we started looking at all of these different signals and said, if these things are happening, there's an indication they're in intent. And you should not use this in isolation. You should use it together with what we call content consumption based intent, the Bomboras of the world, to come up with a full picture. And by the way, the other thing that we also said was, me telling Dell is showing intent about Databricks doesn't give you much to your sellers, because Dell has 3,000 people. And even if I said it's from Virginia or Texas, that's where Dell is based, there are probably 28,000 people. 8,000 of them are in IT. Who the hell do you reach out to? What if I told you, out of the signals that Dell has a score of 80, you should reach out to Jenny Smith, where Jenny is the director of cloud infrastructure out of Texas, because some of the signals were at the level of a person. Now, in today's world, What has changed is everyone is talking about signals, which are different kinds of signals or triggers, and people level signals. Like that has become the standard, right? From first party, from third parties. Like knowing Dell is visiting my website is not interesting, but knowing Jenny from Dell is visiting my website becomes really, really interesting. So that's what I have seen a change. That's what people are talking about. That has become normalized, and I'm glad that it is happening. It's signal based, things like that. What people do wrong with it is a lot of, and it was happening before, it probably is still happening now, I don't know. A lot of people assume just because Dell is showing intent, or it's Jenny from Dell is shown intent based on your tool, which has given me the source, doesn't mean, and then they basically think if you give me that information, Dell is 100% going to buy. They're in market. It's not true. It's just not true. What we have seen is the reality is signal, there's multiple different factors. The big mistake was people would just, let's say you get 10 companies that you identify as hot. They would reach out to those 10 people 3 times in a sequence. And if they don't engage back, they're like, this is garbage. It doesn't work. There's a bunch of different things you need to do. There's a bunch of expectations you should have. So I think that was a mistake that people were having. Now people are normalized. What has changed is people understand the concept of signals. Signals could be a bunch of different things. Third party, first party, all of this, not just content consumption. In fact, content consumption is looked at negatively. People call it black box, snake oil, or whatever. But I don't think that's fully true. I think there's merit to it. But people have normalized, but people still think intent as a silver bullet. Is vendor X has said Dell is in market, 100% Dell is going to buy from me. I'll send out 3 emails and they're going to book a demo, they're going to close. That doesn't happen. You still need to do a lot more work. You need to do multi-channel. You need to surround them. You need to reach out to different people within Dell. All of that needs to happen. So yeah.
Like you said, the value of data has decreased, right? Because the content consumption, sorry, not the value of data, the value of data from the content consumption isn't reliable. Because on an average, a person like me is consuming a lot of content. If I go to ABC's website and read a bunch of blogs, I might have some other interest instead of just buying, right? I see RB2B is something, platform is good. Adam has built this with good intent, right? But as of now, like he himself says, he's still figuring out what to do with it, right? Somebody's on my website. I get a trigger on Slack that, hey, this is this person's LinkedIn ID is there, right? I immediately drop them an email that I saw you were visiting my websites. I think that is still some sort of a misuse of intent. What do you think on this?
So I have a lot of thoughts on this. I think someone visiting your website, that's called first party intent, right? That's only I will have that information, right? Someone visiting my website or someone visiting from like a high value page, meaning pricing page or something. And if you can uncover that it was Dheeraj from this company who's visiting, that's a very, very strong signal of intent, right? Unlike you reading up a news article on a sports site or like a tech crunch about something. Then becomes 2 things happen. One is how accurate is the data? And again, I have no skin in the game. I don't know how familiar. I've tried out RB2B and different tools. There's a challenge of precision and recall. Meaning how many of these accounts can you actually uncover? Because outside of US, you cannot. I mean, IP based, 20% is looks like the best case that you can uncover at the company level. From those 20%, a percentage of them you're like, I know this is Dheeraj. That's what the promise of RB2B, SIFT data or Vector or Warmly, those guys, their claim is that. The challenge, and speaking to them, they will also tell you the challenge is really figuring out a lot of those people that visit your website and then accurately saying this was Dheeraj. Assuming they could, let's just take for a second that I assume that Dheeraj was visiting, that's a very strong signal of intent. Very strong, period. And if it's accurate, then the second question is, how do I reach out to you? So let's say this happens, RB2B sends me a notification saying, hey, Dheeraj was visiting. I follow up with Dheeraj. This is something that we learned is, if I reach out to you saying, hey, Dheeraj, saw you are visiting my website, how can I help you? Is actually negative connotation. It actually works negatively from a response. I am freaked out. When we were doing LeadSift, we were actually identifying the people, and our customers would say, hey, Dheeraj, I know you are talking to my competitor X, or you read this, posted on this article on LinkedIn or Twitter. Let me talk to you. They would get a lot less response back versus, and we had to coach them like, focus on the timing. Do not need to mention the signal because that creeps someone out, even if they did that. No one wants, they understand their tracked and identified the digital footprint. But if I show it to you in your face, you're like creeped out. So once going back to our first party signal, if I know that this person visited and I reach out to you with a relevant message without personalizing, and this is where I think personalization doesn't need to happen. Like, oh, I know you visited my pricing page. No. Hey, Dheeraj, we work with agency owners like you, giving them X% increase or something in their ad performance. That's personalized to you without referring what the hell you did on my website. So that's timing, that's relevant messaging. That is what will get you more. I think I'm pretty sure there is data on this that says if you don't mention it, you get better response.
Okay, right. You rightly said, I mean, this has happened with me. I had reached out to two people who were visiting my website same day and actually scared the shit out of them.
Yeah, it's negative. I can totally see that.
Right. So, I mean, when all data is available, right? The signals are available, from signals to intent if we are able to capture, right? With so many data available, you see a lot of spamming is happening from the guys like us, right? We are on the behalf of our companies or the companies directly reaching out to the same set of folks who are out in the market searching for something from first party, third party data, right? So much of intent and signals are happening. Where do you think it will go?
Right, there's so many intent data vendors now, right? And then there is a new set of companies like the AI SDRs that are taking these intent data tools and then sending outbound emails and sequence automatically at scale. So there is definitely going to be spamming. I think signal-based selling is going to become more and more important. There's way less signal. So just so you know, this was my favorite stat to say. Your target market is, let's say, 100 companies. Out of your total addressable market at any given time, 3% of them are actively looking for a solution. 40% are problem aware. They know that they have this problem. They should have a solution in the next little bit. They haven't gone in the buying mode. And the rest, 57%, don't even care. So when you're looking at signal-based selling or intent-based selling, whatever, I think signals are a subset of intent. Signals contribute to intent, just so you know. Intent is a superset. Different signals add up the intent score. So when you're using signal-based, obviously the volume of people that you get to reach out to goes down. So in fact, signal-based selling should help with spamming. That's the first thing, in theory, because you're not casting a wide net. You're not reaching into all 100. You're reaching into 3%, or maybe some part of the 40% that are problem aware. So that's the first thing. Then the second thing happens is you cannot stop this spamming. I don't think you can stop. People will still do it. Then what comes into play is two things. How strong is your brand? So you and I, let's say we are both vendors of a sales engagement platform. Or actually, let's take a project management platform. Okay? You work at monday.com or ClickUp. I work at projectmanagementx.ai. No one knows about me. We both get the same signal. You reach out to we both reach out to the same company. Exact same message. The chances of you getting the response is a lot higher because you work from Monday or ClickUp, your brand. So I think this is the other important thing is getting the branding ready, which has got nothing to do with intent. If you have a strong brand, if people have seen you on LinkedIn, if people have seen the name, not you, just the company, and then you hit them with the relevant message, don't need to be hyper personalized at the right time because you use signal. Signal is for the timing. I think that's what the game is. I think a lot of companies are now starting to think, and when we worked at Foundry, we thought of this, like we call this concept full funnel demand generation, is you need to tie this brand bit with activation bit. I think that is going to be the key. So yes, everyone has access to signal, but getting the signals is easy part. Building the brand and the community and all of that is very, very hard. There is no shortcut to that. So yeah.
That's going to be hell of a one insight that everybody listening to this will get. Not an insight. It's a common knowledge out there. I mean, your brand speaks for yourself, so it's cool. For me, as a founder, right, I have started to formalize the sales team and the whole process where my product solves for mid market to enterprise, right? What are the best tools in your knowledge that are available, right, without breaking my bank, that I can start with to, get right amount of intent and signal data? This might be useful for the founders and the sales guys, the growth guys who are just starting their processes, right, who are just about to formalize the process. How can I go about it?
If you're asking what's the go-to market tech stack, I'm
Yes.
just starting a company. I'm
Yes.
going up to mid to enterprise.
Yes.
What's the stack that I should use?
Yes.
Intuitive answer. The first thing that you should look for is look at your network first. Your professional network, extended professional network. And that could be your LinkedIn, your Google contacts, your calendar, your whatever you have. Look at that and figure out a way how you can mine for opportunities or signals within that network. Whatever, if there is any tools out there, I don't know. There probably is. Maybe there is, like Warmly might be doing this. There are other folks that might be doing it. So that's the first thing that you need to do. The second thing you need to do is you don't need an expensive, and as a founder, you don't need an expensive ABM solution or anything. It's prohibitively expensive. I think a tool like that does first party intent, meaning that tells you who's visiting your website, would be a great start. That's the second thing. And the third thing that I would do, so whatever tool, pick your poison, whichever. RB2B, you talked about that. I'm familiar with Warmly. I've spoken to the guys at Vector and Sift Data, SYFD. I think all of them could work. So I think that would be, and they're relatively inexpensive. They have a free tier for first party and then $99 or something and scales up. So that's relatively inexpensive. The problem is the volume of people that come to your website is a lot less than the volume of people that are out there doing something. So I don't think you need to use intent for that. Look through your network, look for people that are visiting your website, reach out to them, and then constantly, one thing that I talk about is this concept of network-led growth or LinkedIn-led growth. Two concepts. One is for a lot of B2B companies, your audience is a lot of the times, not always, on LinkedIn. Start building a brand. Start reaching out, start posting content, build a mini brand. And then I think Santosh has this concept, fantastic concept. I don't know if he has mentioned this to you. He called it LinkedIn-led growth. It's brilliant.
Yes, he did.
Okay, perfect. You post. So there you go. Follow that playbook. Literally follow that playbook, right? You do two things. It's beautiful. You use signals, you increase your brand, you do the timing and relevance. That's it, right? And the other is network-led growth. Look at your network, map out into ICP fit who they are, and reach out to the right folks when they're. Ask for intros, ask for referrals. Those are all things that you can do. That's what I will do. And then you can pair that up. These, let's say you use a signal tool like these first party ones, pair that up with an Apollo or something, which has contact data and sales sequencing. Were very cheap. I think under $100. So in $200, you can have a solution that gives you signals. And Apollo also has intent data. It actually has LeadSift intent data, so maybe use that. And then you can send targeted sequences. But I don't think you need third-party intent. I don't think you need any fancy tools other than just getting signals. But knowing who's visiting your website is actually a very important thing. Just don't make it creepy by saying, "Oh, I know you visited. Talk to me."
It all boils down to doing the basics, right, before jumping into any tools and all, right?
At an early point, I mean, why spend when you're early on? Why spend a lot of money on these things? Depending on your scale. Let's say you're at 10 million ARR, you have a team of 5 SDRs and 5 AEs, market. Then you can do a lot of sophisticated things. I mean, you don't even need to do a ton of crazy. You do outbound sequencing based on certain criteria, whether it's signals or something. Then you also, when you're doing outbound sequencing, then in parallel, you run ads against them, those people, on different channels, LinkedIn, Google, stuff like that. So you're providing air cover. Look at the people that have opened your emails, not replied, but opened, and then you can do a lot of sophisticated things. I mean, you don't even need to do a ton of crazy. You do outbound sequencing based on certain criteria, whether it's signals or something. Then you also, when you're doing outbound sequencing, then in parallel, you run ads against them, those people, on different channels, LinkedIn, Google, stuff like that. So you're providing air cover. Look at the people that have opened your emails, not replied, but opened, That's a signal of intent that didn't open but not unsubscribe. Take that, maybe do a retargeting on them. There's a bunch of things you can do, right? From your ads, there's tools like there's this tool called Fibbler. I know they're doing something very cool. They basically on LinkedIn, they will tell you who has clicked on your ad without converting. That's a great set of signals. So you take that subset, combine them, put them into a new sequence. Again, so that's also a signal if you think about it. That's a great signal of intent. So yeah. So that's what I would do.
I wanted to, why I asked this question was because still I get so many outreach which is without any relevance, right? In just order to build some relevance, if those folks might be listening to this when this comes out, they would understand even to reach out to somebody like me, they should find some sort of relevance, maybe from something that might have done on the LinkedIn or the maybe this podcast, right? Other thing I must have talked about, right? Or maybe some other things that I'm looking for, maybe a job post and all. So I was seeing a lot of irrelevancy. I mean, the top 10% companies, 20% companies are doing it, and it's some agencies like us are doing it on our customers' behalf. But still, there are many companies, I would put them into the bucket of less than $1 million, right? They have been doing these mistakes because I get so many outreach. You must also be facing that, right? Not on my agency's email, but I'm also consulting with Zozo Day, XOXO Day. So from in that, that's a mid-scale company. So in my that mailbox, I get a lot of irrelevant emails.
Yeah, and I think the core thing, people can say whatever they want. The core thing of outbound, if you're doing outbound emailing just as a channel, if you look at it in isolation, timing is the key. Intent should really only give you concept about the timing. A notional direction is like, this might be a good time based on these things that happen, is reach out. That's it. It's timing. That is the most relevant thing, right? If the timing is right, assuming, and if you have a good brand, that's it. You are done. So, yeah.
See, what I've understood is if you have the right set of data, you don't need to go too personalized to creep other people out. You just need to build a solid relevance around it and then pitch your customer at a right amount of time with the right set of
100%. Here, Dheeraj, I'll give you an example. For Gia, I am targeting agency owners. That's the vertical I'm going. Agency owners and owners or founders of professional service firm. The signal that I'm going to look for is anyone in my network that I'm connected with through old contacts and stuff who's an agency owner. If they're an agency owner, immediately there's a connection. I know that. But I'm going to wait till I see something going on with you. Let's say I saw you are hosting a podcast. That's an interesting signal for me. So Dheeraj is trying to grow his brand, his organization. I'll just ping you without pitching anything. I'm like, hey, Dheeraj, congrats on this. Love this. Looks like you're growing. We have built a platform to help agency owners grow your business. Would love to show you. That's it. There is none of this, oh, you did this, blah, blah, blah. That's it. I think that's how we are going to see more of this. I think the spamming will happen, but the efficacy of this blasting of emails is gonna go down drastically, and it's already gone down. It's gonna go down more
since it's okay. I wanted to ask a bunch of questions, right? But you already answered them in your one answer, right? A lot of them.
Okay.
Instead of, I gave you 5 pointers, and each pointer had 3 to 4 questions, right? But you have covered most of them, right? In maybe three questions, which is equally great for me, right? So I was just thinking, what else is something that I can cover from this, right? Yeah, I'm just processing what else I should cover from it, or this is the insight that I wanted to know about the intent-based marketing that I've already got.
Yeah, I mean, I think intent-based marketing has, unfortunately, as a lot of it, like the concept of you knowing who's in market is a brilliant concept, right? Like it just makes sense. There's no bullshit in that. But then there's a lot of bad behavior, misconception that has happened that people are a little pissed off. And that's why they're saying signal based. Signal is a signal of intent, for Christ's sake. So that's why people are now evaluating intent and signals. And I'm still a big believer on that. I think we are going to see more signal based prospecting, signal based marketing. And I'm using the word signal and intent interchangeably. Signals of intent based marketing. I think quality over quantity is gonna happen even in the era of AI SDRs. So yeah, that'll be one thing that we didn't cover, but happy to answer any other questions that you might have had.
I guess, Tukan, you have covered most of the questions that I had in mind. I had the concerns about this reaching out to the folks with the intent data and then what all players are there, how I can go and adopt about it. You rightly said that the brand building is something which is really important. You were talking about Santosh point. He mentioned that if somebody has commented on his post or interacted with him over on LinkedIn, by the next time the person reaches out to him on email, he will have some sort of recollection in his mind that I've already interacted with this person. So chances of
But
him.
that's only within 24 to 48 hours. If you reach out after that, that's what Santosh told me, and it totally makes sense. After 24 to 48 hours after I've liked your post, I actually have forgotten you. I don't even remember. But that 24 to 48 hours, somehow in my mind, you're a mini celebrity. Your brand is a mini celebrity. So if you hit me with that right timing, without a lot of actually you don't want to do any personalization, I will buy deeper. There's a chance of me engaging is very high. And that's why timing is key in intent. So
All right. So now with the GR, what are the plans of, you are still working with the design partners, right?
yes,
When are you launching it?
hopefully in the next 2 weeks. Hopefully in the next 2 weeks, we're gonna come out of stealth, I guess, whatever coming out of stealth means. So we're gonna come out of stealth, and the goal is this, again, given the fact that we're going after agency owners and professionals, so small part of the market, right? Not even medium or large enterprise, small enterprises. The goal would be, we want to, in the long term, it's going to be a self-serve play. You come in, you sign up, you use it, and then you scale from there. But once we launch, one of the things we want to do is we want to work with the first 50 customers after we have done this design partner phase, which ends in 7th April. Right after that, we want to onboard 50 customers, me and my other co-founder. We want to work one-on-one with them, and we want to do the onboarding. We want to do the whole thing hyper personalized, give you full access to us via Slack channel, private phone, or whatever, and do that for a couple months. And then we do general availability. But we want to the goal is, I would be much rather happy with 50 raving fans over 5,000 customers who tried Gia out and then bounced, didn't work. If I can get 50 raving fans, it's very highly unlikely to get 100 out of 100 raving, like, even if it is 30 out of those 50, they go, I cannot live without. Like, if you get the usage, then we know we have hit a product, then we can go. But before we go through that process, I don't want to open it. I want to be super focused and intentional with the right people. We can give them the value. We want to give them 10x value, even in the closed beta period. So that's the plan. We go in closed beta in sometime in early April, and then do it for a couple of months, and then do a general availability launch and do all the press and everything.
Planning to raise any money or just want to run it bootstrap?
No, it's not gonna be bootstrap. It's not gonna be bootstrap.
Cool.
Yeah.
For all the VCs and angels out there, this is going to be a crazy opportunity, man, to make you some good moolah. So
Thank you. Thank you for that.
We should get this out.
Good. Thank you for that pitch. Yeah, happy to. If there's any VCs, super active on LinkedIn, happy to chat. And if there's any agency owners or founders of professional service firms, if you're running a consulting firm, and if you're thinking of growth, like, one thing that we have heard from them over and over, we've spoken to over 300 of these agency owners and consultants. And one of the things that we hear is, the thing that keeps me up at night is revenue and pipeline.
Right.
We have built the growth platform to help them scale and automate, take care of that. So, yeah.
See, unlike product companies, I as an agency owner can, relate with this. When I'm serving my customer, right, I tend to shift my focus from the lead gen, right? So that's when I've already worked with them, and mid of the month or maybe 2 months later, I get to realize I don't have any pipeline left, right?
Right.
So that's where we work in an industry where we don't need to have like 20, 30, 40 people, right? This is a solid amount of revenue that we want to build with a small set of people, where per person revenue is significant in nature.
Absolutely. So that's an interesting thing about this and I love this agency, like this vertical of the service firm, is you're not looking for scale, you're not looking for massive quality, you're looking for massive quantity, but you're looking for higher quality that can pay you that money. So you need the right signals and the right people to reach out to, and and all the tools that help you keep them, retain them, expand, upsell. So yeah, that's what we are building. I'll give you a demo, man. You'll like what we have built.
See, it's as simple, right? I mean, we don't want $1,000 and 1,000 customers. We want $10,000, 100 customers, or maybe
Yeah.
100,000 with 10 customers, right?
Yeah. Absolutely, yes. Cool.
Wonderful, wonderful. So if any VC puts money in you, I'm going to get that Scouts commission.
Yes, definitely.
With this, I want to thank you for taking out time and sharing your stealth startup and so many insights that has led you to build the company and sell it. And you are still that thing is, I won't say even relevant. It's making more sense than ever, right? Even than before, right? People like me, agency guys,
Yes.
and businesses I consult for them, even if we have 100,000 people's data, your signals, your triggers, your intent is something which is like a gold mine for us that we are using on everyday basis, right? So I will still say that you have paved the path, no matter Bambora and Six Sense is there. Once I have those founders, I can tell them that they paved the path. But no, man, thanks to you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot, man. Thanks, Dheeraj. Take care.
Yeah. Okay. So I have just these 3 random questions that I want to ask, right? Which book are you currently reading?
I'm actually reading an autobiography, Matthew McConaughey's autobiography called Green Lights. That's the one I'm reading right now.
Okay. Which series are you currently watching?
I'm not a big TV. Once in a while, I'll get into one. The most recent one that I watched is an Indian Netflix show called Dabba Cartel. I watched that. It gave me a little bit Breaking Bad vibes, but in Indian setup. So I like that.
One word for the founders.
Might be cliched, but build something that people want. It's very easy to get caught up on the whole glamour of a startup and hype and everything, building stuff, especially for tech people. I've been guilty of it. None of that matters until and unless you have figured out a product that people want. Don't invest too much. So stay as lean as possible, but really figure out something that people want. Do customer discoveries, build prototypes, build mock-ups, give them an early version, see usage, see retention. Once you get that core, 10, 20, 30 people that are really using it, finding value, keep one thing in mind. If you get 10 happy customers, you can get 100 happy customers. If you get 100 happy customers, keep in mind you're going to get 1,000, and it amplifies from there. So that will be my advice.
One last thing. As a very young founder, okay, I want to take some sort of advice or maybe a micro dose of mentorship from Tukan. What are those things for which I can ping you?
Nice, that's smart. If you have co-founders, if you want to have any issues about co-founder dilemma or founder dilemma, ping me, because we dealt with it. Anything about the whole founder journey, like the ups and downs, right? It is so freaking hard. It's so freaking hard to build a business. And especially the AI era, it's very, very hard. So you can ping me with that. And the third thing is you can ping me or Gia for growth for your agency.
You heard that? All right.
There you go.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Thanks,
that was
man.
good. That was good.